Howdy champs, my name is Mohit and people today I'm gonna show you an effect in JQuery, but before that let's first see what exactly is there in my local site folder. Okay, in this example I've used three images. This is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. I've also used a button click sound, which is this file. And obviously, since we're working with jQuery, I need the main jQuery file, which is jQuery 1.9.1 minified, that anybody can grab from jQuery.com. This is the latest version at the time of making this tutorial. This is the hard work, actually, the HTML file. And this is yet another external JavaScript file which I've called my.js. Obviously you could have chosen a different name. This images folder has got nothing to do with this project. I've just kept things very simple. I've kept all the images, the click sound file, everything in the root, but ideally you should organize them in different folders. The images should be dropped in the images folder. The sound, the click sound, could probably be dropped in an audio folder. That keeps is a good way of organizing things. But I've just kept things very simple out here. Okay, before we do anything else, let's straight away take up a published preview. Let me open up my HTML document. Okay, now people, out here you see three images, the Flash, Dreamweaver, and this is Adobe Media Player icon. Okay, and notice what happens as I hover over these three images, or three thumbs, call them whatever, or icons, call them whatever you want. Okay, notice that when I hover over these images, a border is thrown all around the image, and you can hear the click sound. Also notice that the mouse pointer turns into a finger, and it fades in too. Alright. Alright. You see, through jQuery I could not make the sound play instantaneously just the way it happens in Adobe Flash Player. I could not accomplish that, but nevertheless it works pretty well. It just is a little slow. It's assimilated and played a little slow in Safari and Internet Explorer. It doesn't play in some browsers like Firefox, right? But this tutorial is mainly gonna teach you how to play the audio too on a hover. Okay, to include the audio or not is your own choice. As I said, it plays it is assimilated and played back a little slow in Safari and IE. Nevertheless, let's get back to my HTML document. I've just called it hover.html. Again, you could have given a different name too. Right. See, the doc type I've chosen out here is the HTML5. This is the opening HTML tag. This is the closing HTML tag. Let's first discuss the head of the document and the body of the document. See, I am through the script tags linking up to the external main jQuery 1.9.1 minified JavaScript file. The type attribute has been set to text JavaScript, just the way it should be, right? I've also linked to the my.js.js file, which is this file. All right, so the source code is linked to jQuery 1.9.1 minified version that, as I said, you can grab from jQuery.com. It's also linked to this main file that I've written, my.js.js. I've kept it external. It's best that if you keep everything external, you can just segregate everything. It keeps the code clean and nice. Okay, except that I've used very little of internal CSS out here. Since it's just a few lines, I've kept it internal, but again the ideal way is to keep everything external. Alright, So in the opening and the closing style tags, I have few declarations for the only div in the body of the document which has an ID of 1, right? I've kept the margin and the padding to be 50 pixels each. Margin creates space outside and padding inside the division, right? It's okay to write it as just this way too, okay, but I preferred the long way, just being more specific. All right. So this is where the head of the document actually ends, and let's check out what exactly is there inside the body of the document. Now, in the body of the document, I have one single division, just one single division, which opens out here in line number 20, ends up out here in line number 26. Okay. Now this one single division has 3 anchor tags. If you notice, we have an opening anchor tag for the href attribute set to a hash. Now when you set it to a hash, basically you're setting it to a dummy link, a link that is not going to take you anywhere actually. Since I didn't have actually workable links, it's just a dummy link. It makes it work like a link. And why did I actually do it? Just because I wanted to see the finger on those icons. So it gives you that feeling that it's actually clickable. You get the finger instead of the mouse pointer when you take your mouse over the 3 different images. Now, I've used the image tag with the src attribute pointing to the 3 different images that we have used out here in this example. The width of all the 3 images is the same, 256, as well as the height, which matches the width, which is 256 pixels too. The code is pretty simple. So sandwiched in between the anchor tags, we have the image tags with the src attribute, the width and the height both set to 256 for all the 3 images. The only thing that changes is the src of the source for the images, right? So src out here is called an attribute. This is one attribute, this is the other attribute, this is the third attribute, okay, and href is another attribute, which obviously has been set to a dummy link since we actually don't want a workable link out here. For this example, I've used br out here, which stands for line break. Okay, again, this was not compulsory, seriously, but then anchor tags are inline elements, so it so is audio, so it would have, in the audio would be would have been adjacent to the anchor tags. So that is, I just wanted to push it down, so I've used a line break out here. Okay, now notice very carefully out here what I've done. I've used the opening and the closing audio tags, but I've set the source to an empty string, basically null, nothing, empty, completely empty. Although the autoplay attribute has been set to autoplay, nothing is going to play at all since the source attribute src has been set to nothing at all. I'm actually pushing in the source only through the my.js.js file, which is this file. Okay, so that's why up front when I take a preview, nothing plays, but when I hover, it actually plays, and that's all because of the way the JS was my.js was written. Let's peep inside my.js file then. All right, line number 2 says that when the document is ready, okay, do this. So we fire an anonymous function which does this, and let's check out line number 4. Let's see what it actually says. Line number 4 says when div with an ID 1, rather it says all the images inside div with an ID 1 should get should acquire or should fetch the CSS responsible for making the opacity 50%, and then I've put a period out here and applied some more CSS through the CSS method, and the border should be set to solid, thick, but without any color, which is actually transparent. Okay, now this bit of CSS that I've applied in two different parts, this CSS method that I applied here to drop the transparency and to apply the borders, could very well have been done through the HTML document itself, without having, without doing it out here in the my.js.js file. I can show you how. So I can just disable this momentarily. I can go to the source code, and let's say I come out here which says image. Just click out here and just give me a sec. Okay, click on this plus button. Automatically it says images inside div1. In fact, I don't even need this. So all images inside division with an ID 1. So I can just replace this like so. Okay, just means images inside div with an ID 1, right? And say OK, and then I could have I'd applied the opacity declaration and the border declaration. I could have gone to the border category and I could have said solid, let's say medium or thick, whatever. Okay, and just put the color transparent out here. Let's say transparent. Okay, and say OK, and then come out here and say opacity, whatever. But I chose to do it the other way through JQuery, so that's good too, right? So let's get back to my JS.js file and yep, bring it back into life like so. Let me say save all. Alright, I could have combined these two CSS methods together into one single chunk of bracket, but then that complicates things, so I just kept it separate. Easy to see, easy to work with. Okay, let's see what is happening out here in line number 5. Now people, before I continue, let me tell you, this external my.js.js file again could have had a different name too. Is available as a free download along with the HTML document and the minified version 1.9.1. right? It'll be all bundled up together in a zipped format and will be available as a free download from my website qualitylessons.net/downloads 1.html. Cool. Now let's continue where I actually left off out here. Okay, now I'm targeting images inside div with an ID 1 again on a hover. Now this hover is an event which works with two functions, and if you specify just one function, that function is going to fire twice on a mouse enter and on a mouse leave 2. Okay, so ideally specify two functions. If just one function is specified, it's going to work 2, but then that function is going to fire on a mouse enter and on a mouse leave 2. Okay, this is function 1 and this is function 2. Notice that I've kept the other function which is going to fire on a mouse leave empty, and there's nothing stopping me from doing that. It's completely void. Okay, because I actually didn't want anything to happen when the mouse was taken off the image. Alright, before that let me jump back to the source code for some time. See out here in line number 25, I've actually kept the source of the audio tags, the HTML5 audio tags, completely empty. That's because I have decided that I'm going to push in the source through the my.js.js file. Although I've kept the autoplay attribute to autoplay, I've not used the controls attribute. I've not set the controls to controls, simply because I don't want to see the play, pause, seek bar, mute buttons, etc. I don't want that. I don't want anybody to see that. I just want the audio to play automatically. Okay, and hence I've used the autoplay attribute But as I said, the source attribute I'll be pushing in through the my.js file, and let's do it now. Okay, so when somebody hovers, fire function number 1, which is gonna be operational once you mouse in, mouse over, or mouse enter, call it whatever you want to call it. I'm targeting the audio tag. This is the way you actually target selectors. So you have the $sign out here and you're targeting the audio tag, and I'm setting the attribute or the attribute source src to button click.mp3. okay, let me bring up my local site folder. This file, this is the mouse click sound, right? So I'm pushing in I'm actually making the source which was actually initially empty. I'm making it equal to this, and since the autoplay attribute was set to autoplay, it's going to play immediately. But when the mouse leaves, you go off the image, this second function fires, which has actually nothing inside it. So nothing is going to happen, but it's not going to pull up any error too. That's absolutely okay. Alright, okay, let's examine line number 7 and see what it actually does. Div with an ID 1 images inside. This is, so basically the images inside div 1 are being targeted. This is my selector, this is my event hover, this is the function that needs to fire. Again, since I'm using the hover function, you got to have two functions, one for the mouse in and one for the mouse out. Mouse enter, mouse leave, call it whatever you want to call it. Okay, so when you go in and off the area, which is this area, this selector, this is function 1. Let's see what it actually does. When I say this, basically it refers to the image in question. Since we are using 3 images, this stands for the image in question that's being hovered upon at the very moment. You can't hover upon 3 images together, but only one at a time. So this stands for the image in question, on on fire at the moment, on focus, which has the limelight. I'm telling it to stop. What does it mean? I'm using the stop method out here. Basically it says that if there's any animation going on, which we're going to apply later, stop the animation queue completely, stop whatever is happening, and continue with this. What is this? Apply a little bit of CSS. What CSS? Turn the border, which was initially set to solid, thick, transparent, set it to solid, thick, and chocolate. Okay, so basically just turn the transparent color to a chocolate color. Now some of you may think, why did I actually keep the color transparent? What was the need to do it actually? See, if I didn't keep any border at all, and you might quip that what was the need to keep any border at all? The space for the border would not be there, and when suddenly a border is applied, everything shifts, everything jumps by a few pixels, and that was ungainly, ugly. That wasn't looking nice. So I wanted to reserve that space this way. So the border is there, it's actually occupied some space, and it's just changing the color from transparent to chocolate, and that is why this was necessary to apply a transparent border. Just reserve that space. The space was taken up out here in line number 4. Okay, so I'm turning the transparent border to a chocolate border, so applying using the CSS method out here. Okay, I'm then using the animate method, and I'm making sure that the opacity of the transparency, which was set out here to be a 0.5, should be reset to 1. So the original opacity of the images, which is actually 1, opacity is always between 0 and 1, doesn't go beyond 1. In 500 milliseconds, again you can play with this number. You can take it higher or lower. I think the default is 400. I'm not absolutely sure. Okay, and you can use slow or fast or medium 2 out here instead of using a number. Right. Now after the comma, the second function fires. Now this second function is going to fire when you mouse out. Now this again refers to the image in question. Stop the current animation queue, whatever is happening, just stop it. apply this bit of CSS. So turn the solid thick chocolate border back to the transparent border. So it's shuffling between the transparent border and the chocolate border, on and off, on and off, as you mouse out, mouse over, mouse out, mouse over. So mouse enter, mouse leave, mouse enter, mouse leave, chocolate, transparent, chocolate, transparent, chocolate, transparent. That is the way it's actually going. So hover always includes two functions: on a mouse enter, on a mouse leave. Okay, and not only am I setting the border back to transparent, I'm also making sure that the opacity drops to 0.5. Again, this figure 0.5 here and here is something that you can experiment with. You can keep it at a lower or a higher value too. I've just used the keyword fast out here instead of giving a number, so I would want the animation from a 1 opacity to a 0.5 opacity to happen a little faster. Again, I could have used a number like 600, 800 out here, which would have been absolutely okay. Right. So just balancing the brackets out here. This is sometimes a little difficult when you balance the brackets. Alright, so basically just let me just sum it up. Throw inside the audio tags attribute source equaling button click.mp3 every time somebody hovers in. When somebody hovers out, do nothing. Since the attribute autoplay was set to autoplay, the audio is going to play immediately. Make the transparent border solid thick chocolate from solid thick transparent, and when you mouse away, turn it back into solid thick transparent. Drop the opacity back to a 0.5 and do it a little faster. Okay, so very simple JavaScript document that will be bundled up with the connected or the linked jQuery minified version file and the HTML source code file. Okay, I'll bundle up everything. I'll give it away to you to use in your projects, along with the 3 images that you saw in this project. So everything will be bundled up together and be available as a free download from my website, qualitylessons.net/downloads 1.html. Alright people, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I also hope that you'll keep coming back for more. You have a good day. Bye bye. Peace. Okay, just before I was about to terminate the tutorial, and I wanted to tell you something. Sorry about that. Now I've used the audio tags out here. I might well as I could have used let's say for example span tags out here, opening closing span tags, and through the my.js file, instead of pushing the attribute source, I could have pushed the could have used the HTML method and pushed in the opening closing embed tags with the source set to button click.mp3. Another method that you could have done. So what that would have done is, inside the opening closing span tags in the HTML document, it would have pushed in some bit of HTML, which is embed opening closing tags, with the opening tag having the src set to button click.mp3. Alright, so there are different ways you can actually do that. You can experiment with that. Hope to see you soon. You have a good day. Bye bye. Peace.